New York City, the Big Apple, a city that is synonymous with dreams, opportunities, and relentless energy. From the moment you set foot in this metropolis, you can feel the pulse of its vibrant life. The streets are always bustling, the lights never dim, and the city seems to be in perpetual motion. A concrete jungle teeming with life, ambition, and dazzling lights. It's a place where people from all walks of life converge, each with their own story, their own dreams. The city is a melting pot of cultures, ideas, and aspirations, all coexisting in a delicate balance. We picture towering skyscrapers, Broadway's vibrant marquees, and bustling crowds chasing dreams. The allure of Times Square with its neon lights and ceaseless energy draws millions of tourists every year. It's a place where dreams are made and sometimes where they are shattered. But beneath this glittering facade lies a stark reality, a shadow lurking in the city's underbelly. For every success story there are countless others who struggle to make ends meet. The city's relentless pace can be unforgiving, and not everyone can keep up. This is the unseen New York, a city grappling with a pervasive issue: homelessness. It's a problem that has persisted for decades, often hidden in plain sight. The homeless population is diverse, including families, veterans, and individuals with mental health issues. This isn't the New York splashed across postcards. The iconic landmarks and tourist attractions are just one side of the story. The other side is often overlooked, ignored, or forgotten. It's a side that many would rather not acknowledge, but it's very much a part of the city's fabric. It's the New York many choose to ignore. The sight of a homeless person on the sidewalk has become so commonplace that it barely registers with passers-by. People walk by, lost in their own worlds, often too busy or too preoccupied to notice the human being in need. The one we try not to see on our daily commutes, in the shadows of opulent buildings and beneath the rumble of the subway. It's a jarring juxtaposition, the wealth and opulence of the city standing in stark contrast to the poverty and despair of its homeless residents. But ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. The problem persists, growing more urgent with each passing day. The homeless crisis is a complex issue, rooted in economic disparity, lack of affordable housing, and inadequate social services. It's a problem that requires a multifaceted approach and a collective effort to address. It's time to shine a light on this hidden crisis, to understand its roots, and to recognize the human faces behind the statistics. These are people with stories, with hopes and dreams, just like anyone else. By acknowledging their plight and working together, we can begin to make a difference. The city that never sleeps must also be the city that cares. The numbers are staggering, painting a grim picture of the sheer scale of homelessness in New York City. The city that never sleeps, ironically, has thousands who have no place to sleep. The bustling streets and towering skyscrapers mask a hidden crisis that affects the lives of so many. As of January 2025, over 80,000 individuals are experiencing homelessness. This figure is not just a statistic, it represents real people facing real struggles every single day. The annual Homeless Count event reveals the magnitude of this issue, with rows of tents and makeshift shelters becoming a common sight. That's more than the entire population of some cities. Imagine an entire small town uprooted and left without homes. The comparison is stark and highlights the severity of the situation in one of the world's most affluent cities. This includes families with children who are often the most vulnerable. These families find themselves in shelters, trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy amidst chaos. The shelters provide a temporary refuge, but the uncertainty of their situation looms large. Veterans who served our country, now finding themselves without a roof over their heads. These are individuals who once wore the uniform with pride, now struggling to find their place in society. The sight of veterans near memorials dedicated to their service is a poignant reminder of the gaps in our support systems, and individuals struggling with mental health issues. Mental illness can be both a cause and a consequence of homelessness, creating a vicious cycle that is hard to break. Outreach workers play a crucial role in providing much-needed support, but the resources are often stretched thin. The most heartbreaking statistic: over 20,000 of those experiencing homelessness are children. These young lives are shaped by instability and uncertainty, facing challenges that no child should ever have to endure. Children who go to bed hungry, their stomachs aching from lack of food. The shelters do their best to provide meals, but the demand often outstrips the supply. These children face a daily struggle for basic necessities, who lack access to proper education and health care, which are fundamental rights for every child. Makeshift classrooms and temporary health clinics try to fill the gap, but the quality and consistency of these services are far from ideal. And who grow up witnessing the harsh realities of life on the streets? These aren't just numbers, they are children who should be playing and learning, not worrying about where their next meal will come from or where they will sleep at night. They represent human beings, each with a story, dreams, and the right to a dignified life. Behind every statistic is a person with hopes and aspirations deserving of compassion and support. It's a call to action for all of us to recognize their humanity and work towards meaningful solutions. What leads to such a crisis in a city as prosperous as New York? The answer is complex, but a key driver is the ever-widening gap between income and housing costs. The city's rent burden is crushing, with many residents paying exorbitant amounts for cramped apartments or single rooms. Factor in stagnant wages, rising healthcare costs, and unexpected life events like job loss or illness, and it's no surprise that many find themselves teetering on the edge of a financial abyss. For those living paycheck to paycheck, one unexpected bill, one medical emergency, can be all it takes to push them into homelessness. Behind the statistics are real people with real stories. These stories are often hidden behind the numbers, but they are the heart and soul of the issue. They are the faces we pass by every day, the voices we seldom hear, and the lives that continue to fight against the odds. Today, we delve into the lives of three individuals who represent the broader struggle faced by many in our society, stories of hardship, resilience, and the will to survive. These are not just tales of despair but also of hope, community, and the unyielding human spirit. In the bustling streets of New York City, amidst the towering skyscrapers and the relentless pace of life, there are countless stories waiting to be told. Take John, a former construction worker who lost his job after an injury. John was once a vital part of the city's ever-growing skyline, contributing to the construction of buildings that define New York's iconic landscape. His days were filled with hard work, camaraderie with his fellow workers, and the satisfaction of seeing a project come to life. Unable to work and facing mounting medical bills, he was evicted from his apartment and forced to seek refuge in a city shelter. The injury not only took away his livelihood but also his sense of purpose and stability. John found himself navigating a complex system of social services, often feeling lost and overwhelmed. The shelter became his new home, a place where he had to rebuild his life from scratch. Then there's Maria, a single mother of two who works as a cashier. Maria's days are long and exhausting, filled with the constant juggle of work and parenting. She wakes up before dawn to prepare her children for school, then heads to her job where she stands for hours, serving customers with a smile despite her own worries. Despite working long hours, she struggles to make ends meet. The cost of living in New York is high, and Maria's paycheck barely covers the essentials. She often skips meals to ensure her children have enough to eat, and the stress of her financial situation takes a toll on her health and well-being. When her landlord increased the rent, she was left with an impossible choice: food on the table or a roof over their heads. The rent hike was a blow Maria couldn't afford. She tried to negotiate with her landlord, sought assistance from local charities, and even considered taking on a second job, but nothing seemed to be enough. Maria and her children now live in a cramped shelter dorm, longing for a place to call home. The shelter is a temporary solution, but it lacks the comfort and security of a real home. Maria dreams of a better future for her children, one where they can grow up without the constant fear of instability. And finally, David, a veteran who served in Afghanistan, returned home bearing the invisible scars of war. David's service to his country came at a great personal cost. The experiences he endured left him with deep emotional wounds that are not easily healed. He struggled to reintegrate into civilian life, finding it difficult to connect with those who hadn't shared his experiences. Suffering from PTSD and lacking adequate support, he found himself spiraling into depression and eventually ended up on the streets. The transition from soldier to civilian was fraught with challenges, and without the necessary mental health support, David's condition worsened. He became one of the many veterans who face homelessness, a tragic outcome for someone who once served with honor. These are just 3 stories among thousands. Each person experiencing homelessness has a unique journey, shaped by a combination of personal circumstances and systemic issues. The faces in the crowd each have their own narrative, their own struggles, and their own hopes for the future. Each story a testament to the human cost of homelessness, a stark reminder that this issue can impact anyone, regardless of their background or circumstances. It is a call to action for all of us to recognize the humanity in each individual and to work towards solutions that provide not just temporary relief, but lasting change. The stories of John, Mariah, and David remind us that behind every statistic is a person, and behind every person is a story worth telling.